Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Unconditional Life. I'm John.
I'm Johnny.
Today we want to talk to you a little bit about, well, we'll just call it holiday musings. We're right in the middle of the holiday season.
I like that.
And I, for one, have had an interesting experience over the last few years. I won't belabor it too much, but I've learned about Thanksgiving and Christmas. So for my personal self, I have decided that the holidays now have become a spirit of gratitude and giving, not receiving. And now, starting November 1st, I just am happy it's the holidays, and I focus entirely on how grateful I am. We talked about that on the way down here.
Mm-hmm.
How grateful I am. I look around the world at just the state of affairs, and I realize that even those of us that are struggling the most, here where I live better than most of the world. And so it's just been real. And as I've aged, I've become a lot more grateful. So we focus at our home entirely on gratitude instead of the stories behind Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that's just how we do it.
That's awesome. Because over the little break that we took here recently where we're both kind of getting caught up in a few things and didn't get into the studio as much. That's one thing that's been on my mind a lot is gratitude. And I don't know if it's just a natural thing because of the time of year, but it has. It's been on my mind. And the other day, I was blessed. I'll continue to look at things that may not look great at first as blessings because in the end, they end up being blessings. But I was blessed to have a day where I wasn't at work, and my daughter ended up, she had something that she ate at school that didn't agree with her, so she ended up having to have a moment where she actually got sent home from school because she wasn't feeling well. But as soon as she got home, she was feeling great because she had gotten it out. So I got a chance to steal her, and
the pukey bug.
Yeah. so we had a chance to have a nice little afternoon, me and her. She's got a couple friends at school. She wanted to get a couple presents for. They're going to do a Secret Santa thing, which is awesome. She's 11. But I had a chance to go out and have an awesome day with her where we just me and her, a daddy-daughter day. And we don't get enough of those. We need to make time for more of those. And I was grateful for that because we got to talk about those exact things. And, we get caught up in our lives and we don't really take a lot of time to sit down with the people that are close to us and have the kind of conversations that we did. Where we got to talk, we specifically got to talking about what Christmas means to us. And I'm so grateful that I got a chance to share with her the way I kind of see things. And for me, I know we celebrate it's said that we celebrate the birth of Christ and all that, but that's not what it is for me. Christmas has become something where I get to take a look around the world and realize the things that I have and not just be grateful for them, but also things that we can share with each other. It's not just about being grateful, but it's also about sharing. And so we had a conversation about why Christmas is important. And I told her that one of the most important things about Christmas for me is the mindset where it's the only time period of the year where I know the world as a whole is taking a closer look at sharing and at being grateful for the things that they have. And that's where Thanksgiving rolls into that too. But we all take a minute and step back and think about what we're grateful for. So we talked about how there are people in this world that don't have near the amount of... Some people just are trying to figure out what they're going to eat for that day.
Every day.
And getting through that day is enough for them. And there are some people out there that don't have a mom or don't have a dad or don't have both or don't have the things that we have. And so to be able to come home at night and to have heat in the house, to have blankets to lay under, to have people to share our problems with.
Hot water.
Or even things to drink. I mean, there's not always the things she wants to eat in the cupboard, but we talked about how she always has an option. There are things to eat. And how this is the time of year where we sit back and realize that we could have it a lot worse than somebody does. And so we had a long talk about that, and I'll never forget that day that I had with her because it was so important to me, and I got to share some of those things with her. So that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this holiday. See the season between November and December, because we as a world come together and kind of adapt that mindset, and it's a beautiful thing.
I've always been a little bit different around the holidays. I don't know exactly the timeline, but
Just
it's
around
one of
the
those.
holidays?
Well, it's just I've always loved the holidays, but I'm just different around them.
Yeah.
Like I remember as a young boy, and I don't remember when the timeline was. I don't remember 5, 6, 7, 8. But my mom tells me a story of, "Hey, honey, what do you want for Christmas?" And this isn't about bragging about John. This is just I'm just wired different than most people. Like getting stuff doesn't matter to me, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. But she said, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I said, "Hey, Mama, I just want to watch Ellen, my sister, open her presents and see if she gets something cool." And I've kind of always been like that. So for me, I several years ago, we did an experiment at our family, and I went to the kids and said, "Hey, can we give Christmas away this year?" And they thought I was crazy. Nobody wanted nothing to do with that. But I'll tell you what, we gave our Christmas away. And the kids that went with me to give that Christmas to that family, it actually humbled me about my ability as a parent. Not thinking I'm killing it, but there are these moments when you realize that you must have done something right. But when we got back in the car, both of my kids that were in the car that night said, "Hey, Dad, that was the coolest thing we've ever done. And by the way, next year, if we save some money, can we chip in too?" And I think that's what Christmas and Thanksgiving, for me, that's what it's about. What can I give? Sometimes it's just your presence. And I don't mean the ones you put under the tree. We all know somebody that's shut in or shut down or widowed. Sometimes just your presence is all it takes.
Yeah.
You humbled me a lot today. I had no idea I had that effect on you. But how often do we take those moments to just, again, go look at our last episode. How often are we just together with each other? I would say that I'll bet you if you got a mom or dad, and last time I checked, we all do, I bet they'd rather have you on Christmas morning than a present from you.
Yeah.
I bet they would rather sit in your presence and visit. I know, I don't care if my kids ever get anything. It's kind of a weird thing. I couldn't wait for them to all move away from home. Now I wish they'd come back. And they're farmed out all over. So I just think we have allowed ourselves to be over-commercialized in all regards of our life.
Yeah. I think you're right.
I actually think I think it's important enough. I'll say it again. Watch the Netflix special. Buy now. It's Christmas time. Watch it. Watch how duped we are, how tricked we are about all the things we think we need. There are multi-billion-dollar companies doing their best to extract every penny they can from you.
Constantly.
And in the chase of all your stuff, you're filling up your homes with electronics, with things. We ought to be filling them up with experiences and people. That's just my take for the holidays.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, John, I'll actually share a little bit about
Please do.
What John's referring to. We were, of course, we had taken a break from the podcast for a couple months. And on the way down here, we were just talking, and whatever we were talking about, I stopped it in the middle, and I said, "John, I just got to say something before we get. I mean, remember what we're talking about, because I still want to keep talking about it, but I just want you to know how much I've missed you. The energy that you bring to my life, you turn switches on inside my brain and in my heart that I don't get to turn on a lot of the times, and it's not because the people around me aren't adored by me, because they are. It's not, but sometimes just being in somebody's presence, like you were saying before, just activates something different in you. Especially if you got some of the most positive energy I've ever felt, John, which you do.
Thank you.
But that's what I missed doing this podcast for a couple months, but it wasn't sitting here and saying the things we're saying. Honestly, most of that was just sitting right by you. just to feel the kind of energy that you bring to my life, and that's what I shared with you, and I'm grateful that you were appreciative of that, because it does.
Yeah, thank you.
There's just being in somebody's presence, whether it's somebody you don't even know or somebody you love dearly. Your energy is felt. Now, it's up to you what type of energy you're bringing, for sure, but there's not once in my life that you've ever brought a negative energy to me, and I'm grateful to you for that, so thank you.
Most perfect feedback I could ever receive. I remember, we've talked about this, I get to go in a bunch of homes. I clean carpets for a living, on a carpet cleaning business. And I love to look at all the little quotes. Life is tough, but so are you. And one of my favorite ones was in the room of a big brother, of the older brother in the house. And it said, I can't remember his name, but it said his name, and then it said, remember, you can either be a good example or a horrible warning. And ever since I read that sign, I've done my best to live my vision statement, which is to add value to every exchange with a human being. And it's really not that hard. Here's another holiday musing. How often, and we're going to go down, I'll say it. How often do you call a friend or a family member and vomit on them without permission? Because you've had a bad day.
More often than we'd like to admit.
And then guess what? Just yesterday, my wife called me, and I was in the middle of a funky thing. I had, doesn't matter, hoses, frozen hoses. It was a bad, very confusing afternoon. My wife was on fire. And rather than say, hey, love, I'm in the middle of a funky spot right now, I let her start sharing with me the things she was on fire about. And then she said, what's wrong with you? And I said something negative and just totally, without even realizing.
And did that.
And even in that space, I could have been smart enough, emotionally intelligent enough, gentlemen, to say, hey, honey, I'm not in a really good space right now. Can I give you about 5 minutes to just kind of scrub my brain and call you back so that I don't damper what you got going on? And like, I learned that boundaries set you free. And we have this erroneous belief about, this is, talk about holidays. You guys are going to all go be around a whole bunch of family, right? And I'm going to tell you, sometimes family's not the easiest people to love.
Sometimes.
And learning how to establish boundaries will set you free.
Yeah.
Here's a good boundary that I've learned to establish. You don't get to vomit on me without my permission. And if you call me, my little younger brother called me, I'll never, this was the day I finally understood boundaries. I was having that day. I was blissed out.
In the zone.
And my brother called me and he's just, and I listened to him for about 10 seconds. And I said, I love you, but you don't have permission to vomit on my day. And I hung up the phone on him. And about 3 hours later, he called me back and said, I want you to know that I wasn't very happy at first till I realized that you had actually empowered me. Do I have permission to vomit on you for a minute? Sure, I'm in a lot better space. And you know what? You want to blow somebody away when you're having a bad day, even your very bestest, the best friend, wife, whatever, lifelong, whatever that you always dump on? Call up and try that out. Hey, Johnny, I'm having a crappy day, bro. You got a minute? Can I talk? And then honor that person when they say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, because what I've learned is if you want something to happen to you, do it. Put it out in the world. It will happen back to you. If you start to respect and build your own boundaries, people give you theirs. And boundaries don't mean I don't want you in my life. Boundaries mean I love you so much that I'm going to tell you the things that are keeping you from being in my life or that make me prefer not your company. So boundaries are actually empowering. And we go through a bunch of our life wanting to be liked so bad that we let people stomp all over us all the freaking time because we don't say, and usually people are just unconscious. They don't, yeah. I'm a little bit unconscious about time.
Most people are just...
You and I've talked about that.
All up in their emotions and they don't, They're not thinking step by step, this is what I'm doing to somebody else. It's not as conscious when you're emotionally invested in it right then. So you're absolutely right. Sometimes just taking a minute to remove the emotion before you proceed.
Or even just to breathe.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be around a bunch of family. It's going to be triggery and the holidays are always crazy.
It's always going to be that one aunt.
I would counsel you to not be the Debbie Downer in the meeting. And
what type of energy are you bringing to the party?
Yeah.
You can only go two directions with it. Are you the energy that's bringing your holiday party down, or are you the one that's... You don't necessarily need to be the life of the party, but people can feel the type of vibes you're giving off. As long as they're not staring at their phones, they'll feel the subtle vibes going on around them. And that's the other thing. I know we just did an episode about this, but when you're spending time with your family, guys, this holiday, spend time with your family. You know? Feel them.
Yeah, leave your phones in the car.
I mean,
try it. Just try it.
Try it. You know? See what happens. Everybody that's close to you is probably at that party anyway, you know? But enjoy the time you're spending with each other. You don't get together that often. You know, enjoy each other.
I'm going to make it interesting. I should have said this in the last podcast, but I'll say it now because you just brought it up. My almost 18-year-old boy and his boyfriend actually are now, over this last 3 weeks, they'll come to spend time with me and they'll tell each other, hey, get off your phone. Don't rot your brain. We're hanging out with Dad.
Isn't that the best thing?
It's really freaking cool. It's really cool.
That's cool.
So anyway, the holidays are here. My goodness, be good to each other. And if you're feeling picked on, go for a ride. See how many people are holding up signs. Like, if you're not standing on the street corner holding up a sign, you're probably doing all right this year. And I'll bet you if you focus on the things you have instead of things you don't have, we're probably all a lot more blessed than we know or even would believe.
And it's not simply celebrating the birthday of Christ. It's about remembering what he said and what he taught us. He showed us some really credible things, none of which are second to loving and showing compassion to the people that are around you in your life. That's the biggest thing I would love to make sure that I pass to my children, or make them realize that Christmas is all about. It's about understanding what compassion is and how to be unconditionally loving to
loving each other.
To each other, especially yourself. So,
and then before we drop off, I would like to just leave you with one thought. Be compassionate with yourself this season. I think I bet if Jesus had a message for all of us, it would be that. I wish you could see yourself the way that I do.
You'd smile a lot.
Yeah. I'm blessed beyond measure. I'm grateful and humbled, even to have the freedom to sit here and share my thoughts with you, to be friends with you, and to have Brad, our friend, produce for us. Thank you very much for being here, for listening to us, and I hope you embrace the holidays and really focus on connection and depth. Be with the people you're with.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.
Happy holidays.